Hey everyone, this week is going to be a really quick video. Some people have been asking me what the pins on the Arduino board are exactly. So I'm going to go over that with you today. With me here I have an Arduino Duemilanove. This is very similar to the Arduino Uno. A lot of you might have that. It comes standard with a lot of packages. So if you look at the board, you see 4 pinout groups. They're labeled on the bottom power, analog in. On the digital pins, you see we have AREF, ground, and pins labeled 0 through 13. See, some of these also have PWM, TX, and RX. We can go through these a little bit later. We have the ground pin on the top, second from the top left. On your circuit, you're going to need to finish the circuit with a common node or a ground node. You're going to want to then plug that into the ground pin to finish the circuit. The pins labeled 0 through 13 are all digital inputs or outputs. They're capable of 5 volts and up to 40 milliamps. As beginners, I would suggest not using these as inputs, as you could potentially damage the board if you go higher than 40 milliamps. You see some of these are labeled PWM. That means pulse width modulation. What that is essentially you can take a digital signal and simulate an analog signal with that. So you can, for example, take an LED and adjust the brightness of it, or maybe take some lights and adjust the lights. You also have TX and RX. That's transmitting data. It's a little bit more complicated, maybe not for beginners. So moving on to the bottom pins, you have reset, 3V3, 5V, ground, and VN. These are essentially pins that you can use to power the board. You can use it as an alternative to using the built-in power jack or the USB. Next to that, you have the analog in. These are 5 pins on the Duemilanove and Uno. You can use these to measure the voltage in from an analog signal. These might be useful if you're measuring the position of a potentiometer or maybe a servo. Male pins in the middle here. It's a little bit more complicated. We shouldn't worry about that too much now for beginners. It's a way of reprogramming the chip itself if you wanted to swap out chips. On the board, you also see a little tact switch. That's to reset the program if you wanted to start it over from the beginning. So that's pretty simple. Next time, I think we're going to go into using analog inputs and maybe using some potentiometers and some ways of measuring from your circuit. From that, if you build that in with what we learned last time, you can get some feedback loops, which are very useful. And also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on the bottom if you have any questions. I'd be more than happy to answer. Thank you. See you next time. In our first video, we showed you how to get started with the Arduino software and upload your first program